Hello out there, my friends. It is I, Hondo Onaka. Now you know what to do. You must tune in to my favorite podcast, the Fiveish Fangirls. Otherwise, there could be consequences.
The Hedges may continue all the way to episode 457, Fiveish Fangirls podcast. You can't stop change any more than you can stop the suns from setting. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. So glad you joined us. Let's start off like a room with a virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany Bengal.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And I'm a person, and my name is Rachel.
We got that reference. We see what you did there.
Yep. And Brittany moved, and she's not forgotten where she lives.
Nope.
This time, or she didn't move. This is like the shortest move.
Yeah.
You've had as far as distance is concerned. So,
like, I moved states, but I only moved 15 minutes away from my old place.
yeah.
Wow.
There you go. Very nice. Very nice.
Yes.
All right. So, let's do the news. Some of this for Holly and I will be repeat.
Yep.
Of the episode that did not get recorded last week, which is why you ended up with a little extra squeeby instead.
I can swear on a stack of documents that yes, we did meet and we did talk.
Yes.
We just did
Did
not
it get
have our
recorded?
friendly little
No.
recording in progress reminder.
Yes.
We did hit record on this one, yes.
Yes, we
Yes.
did. Yes.
Okay.
Holly, you checked.
Yes.
All right.
I can see. I can see the little red button that says "call is being recorded." So.
Okay. Well, yes, I
Yes.
can see it now. All right, well, then we're good. Anyway,
So,
well,
first up, unfortunately, some 10 o'clock news.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens when these things
very
happen.
much.
Yeah. So Bernard Hill, the he played the intrepid captain of the Titanic, went down with the
Yep.
ship in James Cameron's Titanic. And then those of us who love the Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films, he is Theoden, King of Rohan. He has passed away at the age of 79.
Yes, when Jared came in and told me, my first thought was, oh, he played, Captain Smith on Titanic, and then everybody is, oh yeah, and then King Theoden, and then all the social media tributes are King Theoden, which is fine. It's great. It's awesome. It was a remarkable role for him, and very well done. I also love him as Captain Smith, although I have some quibbles, but they're historical things about the way he was portrayed in the movie. But that is not down to Bernard Hill. Bernard Hill did amazing, and he is great. Yeah, they're great. He's great. He did a wonderful job. Very well remembered and respected for both roles, and including everything else that he's ever done. And I mean, 79 is not a bad age to make it to.
Yeah.
And
well, this was, 79's not bad. He, as we're recording this, he passed away yesterday. But I guess this was unexpected because he was supposed to be at a convention in Liverpool this weekend, along with some of his Lord of the Rings cast, and he canceled Friday, and here we are.
Yeah.
Because thankfully I was fortunate enough to meet him last year when he was at Cincinnati. And he was the first person from Lord of the Rings I got to meet, the first autograph.
Oh wow!
On my map of Middle Earth.
There you go.
I had a nice little chat with him. I've recapped the entire thing. You can go back in the feeds to last October-ish, late October, when I give my little recap about Cincinnati Comic Expo. But Nick and I were talking about this, and because of course we covered both Titanic and Return of the King on Gold Standard. So we've seen him twice. And I'm understand how privileged I am to be able to go to all these comic conventions and meet these people, and that's what I choose to spend my money on. Some people spend their money on other things. This is what I choose to spend my discretionary income on, and it's because of those encounters is why I find it's worth to spend the money, because even now, years later, I still can look back and talk about the first time I met John Merriman, how I got to speak to Stan Lee for half a second.
Meeting Colin Baker for the
offered me his fingernail clippings. It's like those things are priceless at the end of the day. And so to be able to speak to Bernard for a few minutes while he was signing my map of Middle Earth and telling him how much I the Battle of Helm's Deep is not only my favorite in the Lord of the Rings films, but probably one of my favorite battles in all of cinema. And he just thought it was funny because they hated filming it because they ended up waterlogged and covered in mud. And after a while, that's not fun anymore. No matter how much you like your craft.
No, it's interesting because if you've read the books and seen the movies, but also read the books, you when you first meet Theoden, he is under Wormtongue and Saruman's spell, and you think and for those of us who saw Titanic first and saw how he was the captain there was portrayed, and it's like, oh my gosh, we're gonna treat this guy like he's he's the leader, but he's kind of an incompetent idiot or whatever. And that goes back to some of my grievances with how the captain in Titanic was portrayed versus the historical one, but I won't get into that here. That's down to writing anyway. But then it's like Theoden isn't he's trying to lead his people. This is a really tricky time in Middle Earth, and I love the Kingdom of Rohan. I think they're my favorite in those movies. That's why I love Two Towers so much, because you really get to see Edoras and meet all of them. But then as it goes on, as the movie goes on, and you spend more time with Theoden, and you see just all these things that he goes through, and these struggles he has with what do I do as far as do I where we're gonna make sure our people are safe. And even Gandalf kind of gets all curmudgeonly about it. It's like, no, he needs to stand and fight and blah blah blah. I don't know. I think he's just you've got all of these great and wonderful characters. The wizards and the elves, and even Aragorn is he's the prophesied king of Gondor who's going to return. And Theoden, he is a king, but he is a mortal man. He doesn't have magic, doesn't have anything that really help him, anything extra to help him out. But he leads his people, he leads his armies, and he's just for all his flaws, he's still the best king that they could have had at that point. And
loyal to his family.
Absolutely. Like that scene where, he realizes, he's out of the spell and realizes his son has died. In fact, there's an interview on the, or is it an interview or is part of the commentary? I can't remember. But Bernard Hill talks about that scene where he and Gandalf are outside the tomb and Theoden breaks down. That line, no parent should have to bury their child. He actually talked to a woman who was going through something like that. Like her I can't remember, son or daughter passed away, and someone had said that to her, and and Bernard Hill had remembered that line, and he kind of, it wasn't really in the script, and he threw it in, and that's where Theoden breaks down, like, no parent should have to bury their child, and it's just those little additions just add the humanity and makes you love this man who is a king, who is, you think, oh, king, that who can relate to that at all? But no, you can relate to something like that, and you can relate to loss and grief and all these things, and it just makes these characters who are part of this grand mythology that Tolkien put together, but it makes them relatable, it makes them human, but still no less heroic and remarkable. And I think that's for whatever roles that Bernard Hill did. I think remembering him as King Theoden is fantastic, as just the best thing. If he did nothing else, and he did a lot of things, don't get me wrong, but if he did nothing else, his role as Theoden is very, very worth remembering and honoring him for. And I still liked him in Titanic, so
yeah,
he was a good captain. Even if the movie, there's some portrayals in there that once you read the history of it, you're just kind of like, Cameron.
Yeah, that was our biggest gripe when we reviewed it on Gold Standard. Is just like, it's like Cameron had so much. There were so many interesting stories of actual people that were on the Titanic that he could have told their stories, and it would have been just as emotional, if not more, and compelling of a film. But
yeah.
What do I?
Well, and just sort of things that
I don't have 11
actual
Oscars.
Historical figures doing that you're just like, no, that's not how it would have gone. And we have the witness testimony and other things to prove it. So oh, Jim, but I still like that movie because that ship is purty. That ship is gorgeous. But anyway,
yeah, but you could actually visit Middle Earth.
Yes, that is. I mean, you could visit Titanic, but
yeah, it's not gonna have the same effect as if you went to New Zealand,
and a lot less risky.
Yeah. I'll go to the museum in Belfast. That's my bucket list.
Yeah.
But anyway, Bernard Hill, R.I.P. Our captain, our king. Fair winds and following seas, good sir.
Yep. So, speaking of conventions, because there's no good way to transition from that, Gen Con, the event catalog, is now available for you to peruse. You can start making your plans, making your wish list, but you can't actually register for anything until noon Eastern time on May 19th. But now is the time to start shopping, because some events are going to go fast and maybe not so much. So, if you know that you're going to be, you want that prime time slot for like True Dungeon, you got to be on it. So, or something like that. Lost on me, but yeah.
They'll figure it out.
I never try to register for anything that's super popular, so.
That's probably why.
Yeah. That's because I want to do everything.
You don't want to wait in line for hours and hours and hours only to be turned away at the last minute.
No.
Understandable.
Not when I could be doing like play testing for like 5 things in the same time slot. So.
There you go.
So there is that. And then Salt Lake Fan Aches. They've been busy.
Oh, yes.
With the guest announcements.
I've been getting emails with guest announcements every other day, it feels like. It's really not that often, but it is quite a bit. They've made some interesting announcements lately. So we have this latest round is Marissa Tomei. You most recently was Aunt May to
Hot Aunt May.
made to Tom Holland's Spider-Man, among many other things. Yes, especially if you're of a certain age. Also, this one made me excited. Johnny Young Bosch, the second Black Ranger in the '90s Power Rangers. He was in the movie. Also, he's the voice actor for so many anime. Most relevant to me anyway. He is the voice of Artemis, the cat in Sailor Moon, which I have been slowly introducing Lottie to, and I think I've got her hooked. I'm amazing. Mom point. I've got fun stories about that. But anyway, so he's going to be there. And also, Martha Jones, Freema Agyeman is going to be there, which is exciting. I actually, sorry, I have her autograph already from when I went to Galley like 10 years ago, 11 years ago. I'm old. But that's exciting. It'll be fun to try to see her again. So she was fun. Last I saw her. And then Rebecca Mader, if you remember, Once Upon a Time, she was the Wicked Witch, Zelina. So that'll be fun. And then the one, the only, the legend, the man, the myth, the legend, Lou Diamond Phillips. Many, many, many awesome 80s and 90s westerns. He is a standard. So that's exciting.
A TV actor to boot.
TV actor as well. Yes, there's Young Guns and... Well, I'm just thinking Young Guns right now.
Hey.
Oh, but yeah.
And our beloved prodigal son, gone too soon.
But and then just going down the list here, McKenna Grace. If you do not immediately recognize her name,
you have not seen any of the new Ghostbusters movies.
Yeah, she is Phoebe, Phoebe Spangler in the new Ghostbusters movie. She's awesome. She also, and because I had to look this up, because they do such a good job with her hair, makeup, and all that stuff in those movies, she's also young Emma Swan in Once Upon a Time, speaking of. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Because now I'm doubting myself, but I'm almost positive. Now that I've said that. Let's see. Yeah, she's naturally blonde. But she is, she's just an excellent.
You are right, Chrissy.
I was like, I swear she is. But she's been in a lot of things. She's just really good at what she does. So it's cool. So I really like her. I really hope that she has a good career and everything goes okay. Oh yeah, and she was also in Young Sheldon. But anyway, so she's been in a bunch of stuff. And
she's got that Ghostbuster money, so she's good.
Yeah, she got Ghostbuster money. She's good. And then this one's gonna break the bank probably, and the internet and other things. Linda Hamilton won Sarah Connor from the Terminator franchise.
Ooh.
So she'll be a fun one to check out the panel. So yes, they've been busy little beavers over at FanX HQ. So and the con isn't until September, so.
And they're not even done with all the announcements yet either.
No, I mean they usually save a few heavy hitters toward the end. But
I mean, these aren't anything to sneeze at, but these are some heavy hitters right there.
Right. I'm excited. Any one of these I'm excited for, and look at this. So yeah, it'll be good. But yeah, they got Johnny Young Bosch. I'm like, ooh, I wonder who else are going to get in the voice acting realm. Because it'd be fun to get some more anime voice actors if they can.
They probably will.
They probably will. There's always a pretty big contingent of voice actors.
Yeah.
So, but it's fun.
He's got that nice Venn diagram of anime and Power Ranger.
Right.
So, like, they can invite people of either, and odds are he's worked with them. So
that is true. It's just funny when I'm watching Sailor Moon now, like the new dub and all of that. And I just have to remember, this is the same guy who said, I'm a frog.
I'm a frog.
I'm like, oh, Adam,
Yep.
love you. Little hearts.
Yeah. It's like, no matter what else he does to me, he'll always be a frog.
He's always a frog.
He even said so on when he autographed my movie poster. He put Johnny Young Bosch, Adam, I'm a frog.
Oh, that is such a fun movie.
Yep.
Epic as hell, but
yeah,
it's got my heart. Anyway, moving on. We've got some housekeeping, so I'll throw it back to Rachel to talk about some gold standard goodness.
Yeah. Speaking of gold standard, in your regular feed for everybody, we're in this black and white sort of silent era mode. Like we're Taylor Swift, we're in our black and white era. With my personal pick, where no one else picked this movie, but I was like, I'd like to do this one, please, and that is the Charlie Chaplin film Modern Times, which is a lot of fun. It's a great Chaplin film. It's also great if you're not the biggest fan of silent movies, because this one is silent-ish. Hey, that's a an addition we like to add to a lot of things. Ish,
yes, we do.
Because there's the musical score, of course. There are sound effects. There's Foley, among other things, and there actually are some speaking voices, but any voice you hear is used in a very particular manner that has to do with the overall theme of this film. So, if you're like, silent movies, this might be a good one to start with. Just to kind of dip your toe in, because it's not completely silent. I mean, they still do the words, on a card on the screen, but even then, they're very limited. A lot of it is you need to watch it to get what's going on. But with Chaplin, because he's such a physical performer, he always he wrote this, he directed it, he did the score.
Dang.
Yes.
Yeah,
and starred in it. So
he was one of the earliest sort of Renaissance actors in film.
Yeah.
Like, he went all out.
Yeah.
There's a reason he is fondly remembered, not just for his acting, which is considerable, but for just filmmaking in general.
Yeah, and this is absolutely shows why he is considered one of the greats, even though at the time, not so much. Again, if you want more about that, you can go listen to our episode of Gold Standard. And then for our patrons, we've got April's Patreon film, which is the Drew Barrymore period piece, Ever After, a Cinderella Story. I actually was not part of that review because the only evening we could schedule it was the Sunday of PopCon, and I was dead to the world well before they finished recording. I was just like, I'm sorry guys, I can't. I went home, I ate, and then I was out by like 9:00. I was just out cold. So
oh, good. That is actually one of my all-time favorite movies, so I would not be sad if we ever reviewed it for this podcast.
Yeah. Then I get a chance to review it.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, there is that as far as housekeeping. And then we are in a new month, so just a reminder. I mean, I know we had a tie, so this month's book club was already set in stone. But for those that may have missed it, a reminder where we are book club wise.
Yes. So this month's book choice is Evil of the Daleks. And then just a second. Okay. Then our book choices for the poll for June are Dark Eyes Volume 2, which is Big Finish, Rebellion of Treasure Island, Roof of the World, and Harry Houdini's World. So, yes.
There you go.
And-
Finish
and-
always with the options.
Yes. And like I said, why some of you are probably wondering, I even typed it up in the post, why aren't some of the newer novels, like the novelizations for the specials and that, why aren't those up on the polls yet? Most of those are digital, and the way release schedule, it's really different. It used to be UK and America would get the print version at the same time. Now that's flipped. So I'm giving people time to either get a hold of a digital copy or to physically, if they want their own physical copy or waiting for a library. We got some time. So hence some more of the audio options.
Yeah. And those newer ones will make their way to it. It's just
Yes, they will.
publishing
Yes, they
schedule
will.
Yeah.
is a little weird. That's
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, the fact that, as we're recording this, Doctor Who comes back this Friday.
Yes, exactly. 2 episodes, yoo-hoo, and then we gotta wait one every week. But I'm happy.
All of us are eagerly waiting our turn to be on Next Stop Everywhere.
Yes.
For our respective chosen episodes.
Yes.
Um,
And one of them, 2 of us are going to be on, so it's going to be a rather full TARDIS.
Good thing it's bigger on the inside.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, Doctor Who is getting ready to come back, but at the same time, like there's novelizations out there for Shudigatwa's Doctor.
Yes.
It's just like he's only had one full episode.
Yes. Because the Church on Ruby Road is available ebook, but you could get a physical copy from the UK, or you can wait until August till the American release. So it's just like, okay, I'm going to probably wait till September, October to even put that one in. So it's just like, I look at these things. So yes, I am aware. Yes.
By then I might be able to make room on my bookshelf for them. Oh my. So there is that. And then feedback. That's some feedback from Shalane. She says, started with Deadpool. There's been cosplays of Deadpool and Boba Fett. Now there's going to be Deadpool and Wolverine cosplay this year at conventions. Well, there's always Deadpool, and there's almost always Wolverine, but you might see Deadpool hanging out with Wolverine more than you have in the past. Deadpool is a popular cosplay along with Ahsoka, Harry Potter, Barbie, 11 anime characters, and Hocus Pocus. Yes, I saw several Deadpools, several Ahsokas, some Harry Potter, lots of anime at PopCon. So
there are pop culture conventions, there will always be Deadpool cosplayers.
Yes.
That's how it is. Which
the best Deadpool cosplayers are the ones that know how to have fun without being annoying. That's the fine line that they gotta toe. But it's all good. Yeah, Deadpool's not going anywhere as a cosplay. Plus, I went back to the How It Should Have Ended of Logan, and they had Deadpool with the OG Wolverine's outfit. So the How It Should Have Ended people were right that Deadpool and Wolverine would team up with Wolverine's OG outfit, since we never see him in that outfit in the movies, just the comic and TV shows.
Well, there were some other shows.
That's a team up people have been wanting, and
they've been wanting it since that debacle of X-Men Origins.
Yes. Wait, is that you? Yeah. And yeah, I don't. There might be a poll somewhere that somebody's done at one poll. What which team up is more popular, Deadpool with Wolverine or Deadpool with Spider-Man? So, because I know that's another popular team up.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, there are some normies who see Deadpool and like, is that Spider-Man? Bless them.
Yeah, no, but I guess in some comics, like Wade and Peter Parker are like BFFs.
Yes, they
So.
do. They do team up in some of the comics, but
Yeah, which, I mean, considering Wade Wilson's maturity level is probably the equivalent of Peter Parker, so
well,
age-wise.
yeah, it's
He's got the maturity level of high school.
age. I don't know that it's I don't think Peter is actually that level of immaturity, but
No, I was just the fact that Peter's essentially a high schooler, so Wade Wilson has the maturity level of a high schooler, so
yeah, 15-year-old. That sounds about right.
Yeah. So. Who else can he run around making fart jokes with?
True enough.
Oh my. Summer's gonna be interesting. Then she asks, will Deadpool save the MCU?
Maybe.
Depends on what you mean the word save. I don't
he did
save is the right word. I think he's gonna do something to it.
He did say he was Marvel Jesus in the trailer.
Yeah, again, maturity level of 15-year-old.
We will see.
Yeah, I would put, if I would use the word save, up an asterisk with that and then make sure to read the fine print. Because I don't think it's so much that the MCU needs saving. It's more like the multiverse needs saving in a way. So how will the MCU be affected because of this? TBD. Watch this space. We shall find out at the end of July. So, because it's Deadpool. So,
I'm just gonna say this: if you need Deadpool to save you, you might just be in more trouble than
it's worth it.
Yeah, you're in it. You're in it deep, friend.
You may just have to lay back and take it, and like a root canal or something. Right. Switching gears. She says, speaking of the Mickey Mouse Club,
that's quite the transition.
Well, I mean, it's still the House of Mouse.
I know, but from Deadpool to Mickey Mouse Club, that's just the juxtaposition is amusing.
I gotta share with you guys I bet to share it. It's still on my phone. I need the picture I took of a comic book that I saw when I went to my friendly local comic book shop on Free Comic Book Day over the weekend. It's Marvel What If, but all the Marvel characters are Mickey and friends. And their decisions to make certain characters, certain MCU heroes, is interesting. So I did share that. Like, okay, I kind of now want this episode of Marvel's What If in cartoon form, please and thank you.
Certainly a choice.
So yeah, speaking of the Mickey Mouse Club, have you girls done or plan on doing an episode about the Mickey Mouse Club? We have not. We could. That would make for an interesting discussion, considering how many people have come out of the Mickey Mouse Club.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there was a Disney Channel night at Disneyland, which I didn't know about until I saw the cosplay of Disney Channel characters and parades on social media, and I was crying. I saw it too. It looked really amazing. I hope they do it again in the future. I'd love to go for it. Same with me and my friend. I want to go too. Disneyland's been doing that since the pandemic. Like, even before the pandemic, they would do, like, they have their Halloween night. But after the pandemic, I think to maybe get more of the locals in. They've been doing like these themed, separate ticketed nights. And yeah, they've done like the channel night. They've done like 90s night. And I'm like, oh, it's so cool. So they get all the cool stuff at Disneyland. They have an Avengers campus. So jealous. Also going back to Disney Channel, Disney Legends, I think another person who's done a lot for Disney that will be a Disney Legend in the future is Ashley Eckstein. Because fun fact, before she voiced Ahsoka, she was in a Disney Channel show as a supporting actor. Plus, I watched a documentary about her. Her dad worked at Disney. Yes. Her dad was a Disney cast member. I don't remember exactly what he did. But that gave her and her mom free entrance to the Disney parks whenever they wanted. She's an only child. So she cut her teeth at Disney very, very early on. So she worked as a Disney cast member. And then when she tried to switch to acting, she got that gig on. Was she on That's So Raven?
I want to say it was The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
It's that time period, at least.
Yeah, it's in there. But yeah, I will have to look it up to be certain.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was on some Disney Channel shows.
Yes,
back in the day.
Yep. So
I mean, and I only know about these ones because by the time those shows were on, I was in college and really didn't have access. But then I'd come home and my little sister, Shalane, in case people didn't know that, she would watch those shows and I'd be like, okay, this is a thing now. That's fun. So yeah,
nothing like siblings exposing you to stuff that you would likely never consume otherwise.
Yeah. First it was my siblings, and now it's my kids.
Yep.
Although Bluey is the shit. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah, I probably need to jump on that train at some point.
Same here.
Even if you don't have kids, you will bawl at Bluey.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, even I haven't even seen all the episodes because Lottie keeps wanting to go back to the same ones over and over again. It's like, kid, we got more to watch. What are you doing?
That tracks.
But Mama, I like
this one and I like this one, and I'm like, I just want to sit and binge these. These are amazing and they're really short. So anyway, sorry, off track, but
So Holly, when you get around to watching Bluey, you're gonna have to let us know if either Mario Coco starts paying attention to the screen when it's on, because supposedly Bluey, the colors, it's even made so that dogs can see it.
Interesting. Gonna have to try that out.
Yeah. So supposedly dogs, because they are colorblind in certain shades. But supposedly Bluey is one where the dogs can actually see more, like, it's not just like black and white or gray and white fuzz to them. So it's more distinct or sharp or whatever, however you want to say that. So
yeah,
I don't have a dog yet to test that on. So I saw it on TikTok. It must be true. But yes, Ashley will get a Disney Legend award. I would think sooner rather than later, actually.
Yeah.
Obviously not this year, but I would not be surprised if she's on the list for the next D23 Expo. So
I'm actually surprised she hasn't yet, but
yeah, I kind of am too. So going back to the Dark Universe, I thought they were going to get Johnny Depp to be the Invisible Man, and Javier Bardem was, I think, going to be Frankenstein or Dracula, but I think the better monster cinematic universe that is doing well is Godzilla and the Kong films. So yes, you're definitely right. I believe I heard the Johnny Depp Invisible Man rumor. Javier Bardem, I don't know. I don't remember hearing a rumor either way. Frankenstein's monster, I think, would make more sense just based on his physical appearance. Because he's very tall and broad and he's kind of got like a blocky head. No offense to Gabriel Bardem. So, since that died, it doesn't matter.
Nope.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
We will stick with Godzilla. Thank you very much. Now onto the actors. The only films I've seen Don Cheadle in are the MCU, Space Jam 2, Volcano, Hotel for Dogs, Ocean's 11, a little bit, and the new DuckTales. You should really watch more of the Oceans, the new Oceans movies. They're really good. He's a better roadie, aka War Machine, in the MCU than the first roadie actor in the first Iron Man. Plus, the same year Tommy Lee Jones did Volcanoes, the same year he did Men in Black. Also, Dante's Peak was released first that year, then months later, Volcano. Yeah, that, like I said, the 90s were just weird.
Every year there was some
just entertainment as a whole. Look at TV in the 90s, look at movies in the 90s, look at music in the 90s. It was just all over the place. They were just throwing things at the wall, seeing what would stick, and sometimes, unfortunately, things stuck that should not have stuck.
Conversely, there were some amazing gems in the 90s. And maybe I'm biased because that's when I grew up and that's the part I remember the most, but I'm like, I think we grew up in a golden age of pop culture. Personally.
Well, I'm not saying that you know, because it was diverse and weird doesn't necessarily mean it was bad.
No. Yeah. I mean, it was very much a time of experimentation, and we'll probably get into that with our main topic a little bit. And because there were so many new things, and it's like, hey, let's try this and see how it works. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it was always entertaining. Or even if it wasn't the good kind of entertaining, you could at least laugh about it. But anyway, we will get into that a little bit.
Yep.
So watch. Yep. Well, just hang on for a few more minutes. We're gonna get there.
Just gotta finish up Shalane's feedback last little bit. The only movies I've seen Judi Dench in are Home on the Range. Yes, she voiced a cow. Shakespeare in Love, Cats. Why, Shalane? Why? Skyfall, Spectre, Pirates 4, which that is a blink and you miss her kind of appearance, but yes. Pride and Prejudice. I would love to read her book. I'll put it on my list, which is really all we hope to accomplish on this podcast, is to make you all add things to your to be consumed lists.
Hey,
that means we have accomplished our goal.
Makes you feel any better, it happens to us too. You're
yes.
Like, yes, I need to watch that, read that, whatever.
Yep. That reminds me, Libby contacted me earlier saying something was finally available. I need to download it.
Well, good to do that. Although I had some old, I'm like, crap, I don't have time for this one later, or for this one right now, so I had told them to deliver it to me later.
Yeah.
You can do. And this is a very lovely service they offer.
Yes.
Hashtag not a sponsor. All right.
So, moving on. Thank you, Shalane, for your feedback, as always. Yes. Moving on to this week's main topic. This is very appropriate, considering over the weekend it was May the 4th.
And a certain anniversary
depending on
of
who
a
you
certain
ask,
film.
official, unofficial Star Wars Day. It also happened to be Free Comic Book Day, so that made things interesting going anywhere. Nerdy. So Inter also played on Saturday, so that was just fun.
Yep.
So it was a busy day for us fans of things. But yes, it is the 25th anniversary, because we're all now feeling really old.
I was going to say
the start of what would become what we lovingly, air quotes, call the prequels for Star Wars, with Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Yes.
So we were kind of talking about this before we started. everything that can be said about the Phantom Menace, the movie itself, has been said. It has been 25 years, and people have dissected, positively or negatively, dissected this movie to hell and back. It just so we're not. It probably won't be a straight up review. However, and I don't know about you ladies, but I really want to talk about sort of, because this is something we all were there for. We saw just how stupidly huge this got. I say stupidly in the nicest possible way. I mean that with true endearment. This was, I mean, so in '97, let's reverse for a little bit, and you guys can jump in here. In '97, that was the 20th anniversary of when Star Wars came out, A New Hope, or at least anyway. And so they did these special editions, and I remember when those came out, my dad, because I hadn't actually sat down and watched Star Wars all the way through to that point. It was one of those things like my dad would watch it when it was on TV, and he would like flip channels. He still does this. Very annoying. But I love my dad, but there's those things. So I could never watch it all in one sitting. Well, then they said, well, Star Wars is going to be in theaters again, and it was. I just remember my dad saying, "I am taking you kids. We're going to go see Star Wars in the theater because this is an event." And I was like, "Okay, Dad. Well, you do this. This is great." So I finally sat down in the theater and saw Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. Somehow we missed Return of the Jedi. I don't know why, but they kind of were staggered. And I loved them. Fell in love. Now, I mean, there was probably some purists out having a heart attack over the fact that I saw the special editions before I ever saw the theatrical cut.
You didn't know. You didn't have a frame of reference.
I didn't have a frame of reference, but I loved it. And I especially because that's just the kind of person I am, loved Han and Leia, their relationship, the romance, all. It was great. I'm like, this is so cool.
Probably almost everybody sci-fi's first ship.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know what my first ship was, but that one was pretty close. So then they announced, George Lucas is making more Star Wars, and it's going to take place before those three movies, and we're going to see Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker become Darth Vader. Holy cow! How is it going to go down? And because Star Wars just hadn't been in theaters for so long, but it had, back when it originally came out, was just, you guys think back to when Harry Potter came out, or Lord of the Rings, or even any of the Marvel movies, how it's just that big, huge, monstrous event. Take that, times it by like a gazillion, and that's Star Wars. Back in the 70s and 80s. So so you had all of the I don't want to call them old heads, but the original trilogy fans who were just so excited for this. And then there were the people that had kids, so I was getting excited for it. My generation, and I was 14 when Phantom Menace came out, and there was like merchandise everywhere.
Yes,
and not just the normal like toys and things, like the pop cans, the Pepsi did this thing where they had the collectible soda cans, but they were like 5.
I had the NASCAR car.
I shared it.
Jeff Gordon.
I spotted one over the weekend and shared a picture with you guys that's got little Jake Lloyd on it.
I remember.
My mom was just a huge Pepsi drinker. We always had like some 24 packs in the pantry. And I'm like, I want to collect these cans, but then I realized like they had 5 characters on Pepsi, a different 5 characters on Diet Pepsi, and other characters, and then there were like 5 on like Mountain Dew, and I hate Mountain Dew. And I was like, I'm never gonna get these because I'm not buying Mountain Dew because that's disgusting. But it was just, I had all the pop cans just sitting in my room on like a windowsill. I would rescue them from my mom when she was done. Like, are you done with that? Schwoink, this is mine now.
Rinse.
And there was this little boy that I babysat that summer and he was maybe like, gosh, how old would he have been? Like maybe he was just a little kid, so like 4 or 5, and he was obsessed with Star Wars. He had all the toys, and I don't even think he'd been to see the movie yet. But oh my gosh, it was. Whoa! I mean, there was another Austin Powers movie that came out that year, and even in their trailer that you saw in the movie theater, they said, if you see one movie this summer, see Star Wars. But if you see two movies, because so you have these other movies who are saying, yeah, we are not on the top of anybody's list, but come see us anyway after you see Star Wars.
Yep.
So that was kind of some genius marketing there.
Oh yeah.
So the rest of you, like, before the movie came out, like the hype and everything surrounding it, what was your sort of experience with all that?
Well, for me, I was a fan of the original since I was like 3. Star Wars came out 2 years before I was born, and Dad kind of latched on and brought me through the process. So I went through, like you, Chrissy, when the special editions. I mean, I see their theatricals. When the re-release came out, the special edition, I was in theaters. And then when I heard the rumor that there was going to be the new movie, that was my first year in college, freshman year. So a whole bunch of fellow girl fans, we'd sit and talk. And of course, there was a Kmart right across the street from the dorm that we were in. So basically almost every other day or so we'd be crossing the street to the Kmart to check out what merchandise dropped and being very choosy. Because I remember I picked up the book, and finals was the week before the movie came out. So a couple of my girlfriends from the dorm were just like, okay, we'll meet up. We didn't go to Point. They're just like, we'll go to your hometown. And we waited in line the week after because we knew when May 19th. So we go to my local movie theater. We wait in line. We lined up for tickets. We didn't camp out overnight. We just camped out that morning, afternoon. One of the local radio stations came and dropped off food for everybody. And I even got interviewed for the paper asking about something else that was not Star Wars related, but they snapped and interviewed quite a few people online. I have the press clipping floating around somewhere to share, but yes, it did happen. And one of the kids that I graduated high school, he graduated the year before me. He got tickets for the evening showing. My friends and I were just like, we want the first afternoon. He was so excited, he almost raced across the street, not paid attention, and almost got smucked by a car.
Oh, no.
It's like,
Oh,
watch out, dude. Yes, I know you're excited, but don't lose your life after. I mean, he was okay. I mean, he raced across the street, the car laid on the horn, but it was just like,
Good grief.
But,
yeah, that's like that'd be the worst. That would be the worst viewing, theater going experience.
yeah, I'm just like, okay, buddy, I know you're excited, but look where you're going.
Be smart about this. Let's not spend our Star Wars evening in the ER, please.
Exactly. So after we got our tickets, we went. They let us in because it was first showing. I think it was like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. There weren't too many people in the theater at that time, which was a little surprising, but not quite. But oh my gosh, it was just, I mean, awesome to have like 4 or 5 friends experiencing that. It was just, the chills. And we enjoyed Jar Jar, yeah, a little bit. And it's like, okay, but we enjoyed it. I mean, we didn't have any complaints.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so those are my memories.
Yeah, we'll get into that. What about Brittany and Rachel? What were when you guys saw the movie, or what do you remember of that time?
I was 9 when it came out, and I can't remember if I've watched all of before then. I honestly can't remember. But I remember, actually, I honestly can't remember when I started getting into Star Wars. I know it was around that time period, either with Phantom Menace or Attack, with one of them in the theaters. So, that's not really good story. Sorry.
That's okay. How about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I was like, I remember the OG trilogy getting re-released, but I didn't see them. I had seen, we had to have had a copy, I'm sure on probably VHS, of the OG trilogy, before George decided to tinker with them. This was one of those franchises where I knew of it via osmosis of a sibling, in this case my brother, because he would watch it and I would see it like over his shoulder, or I walk by or whatever. I could hear it coming down from the hall from his room. So I knew of it, and then I vaguely remember, this one being released. I did not see it in theaters. I had to have seen it at some point, though, before Attack of the Clones was released, because I did see Attack of the Clones in theaters. Of the prequel trilogy, Clones is the only one I remember seeing in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
I remember standing in line in a very, very long line outside of a movie theater at like midnight.
Wow.
To go see episode 2, because I believe it was episode 2, because the episode 2 is the one where Yoda rails on Dooku.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because I was like, that stands out to me as seeing that on the big screen. But for what I did not see the first one. I don't remember seeing the third one in theaters either. I only saw the second. I don't know. And then throughout the years, my brother would also watch the prequels, and like I said, my mom is not the most pop culture literate person. She does not go to the movies very often. I'm pretty sure one of the last movies she saw in theaters was Frozen. And she stayed awake for that, which is an accomplishment. So my mom would not know the TARDIS from the Enterprise, more than likely. But damn it, she knows who Jar Jar Binks is.
I think everybody knows who Jar Jar Binks is.
Yes.
Yeah, whether they want to or not.
Mm-hmm.
But in her case, she likes Jar Jar Binks. Doesn't know really anything about him, what part he plays in the plot. She just knows who Jar Jar Binks is and thinks he's funny, and therefore likes him. So
this is my thing, because I remember, like I said, I was 14 when Phantom Menace came out, and it was cool. It was so fun, so neat, and it's like, throughout the years, like, it's just kind of gotten a bad rap, and yeah, maybe if you like sit there and think about it a lot, which people do, people thinking about Star Wars, heavens no. But
what a concept.
What a concept. And I think this is one where, like, the hype backlash, especially with from media, journalists and stuff, they love to tear down things. And we actually have a little a letter here we can talk about here for in a minute. But it's like they see people enjoying themselves, they see people having fun, and it's like, well, we've covered the Star Wars hype, so now we need something else. Oh, I know, we need to insult a kid, a child actor. We need to insult, this, that, or the other thing. I mean, it's one thing to criticize a movie. I get it. It's quite another to just kind of be an ass about it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this. It's like, yeah, and coming from someone who was 14 and this was aimed at, this movie was aimed at my age group. and younger and a little older and that kind of thing. And and even the original Star Wars was sort of, not really aimed at kids, but it was made with sort of with kids in mind, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to say that. There is nothing wrong with Phantom Menace as a movie, really. I mean,
mm-hmm.
I will say that George got a little carried away with the special effects, but then again, that was the '90s. CGI was the hot new thing, and everybody was going
the brand new toy everybody had to try out.
Yes, exactly. Everybody had to try it out, and George was like, "Hey, I can make this, make some really neat things with my, Star Wars thing here." So that was all over the place, and yes, and some of the script, some of the writing really needed to be tightened up. And I am going to say this: the only thing I had a problem with as a 14-year-old girl, the only thing I had a problem with Star Wars was the fact that Queen Amidala was 14, Anakin Skywalker was 9, I was 14, my little brother was 9. And in my head, I'm thinking, there's a 14-year-old girl who's going to fall in love with a 9-year-old boy. I think I'm like my brother's little snot-nosed friends. Because when you're that age and you've got a little brother that age, all his friends are snot-nosed. I'm like, that's bullcrap. First of all, I was like, how in the world are you two going to hook up? Because obviously that's who Luke and Leia's mom and dad are.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest, what the hell thing.
Right.
Everything
well,
else,
supposedly George was supposed to make him older, but then for some oddball reason he backtracked, and I don't know why.
I don't know why either.
Because he thought it would be more believable that a 9-year-old would be more conflicted about leaving home than like a 14-year-old.
I guess so, but I don't know. There are ways around it, but it was just kind of like because yes, in Phantom Menace, I mean, you could argue that they really didn't start falling for each other until Attack of the Clones, but Anakin has a crush on Padme, and she kind of
9 is not that weird, but
okay. So it's not from the Anakin standpoint, because Padme even seems to like, nothing's gonna change the way I feel about you. I'm like, girl, you're 14, you're crushing on a 9-year-old. This is weird.
Yeah, I'm
sorry, but it's weird. I mean, yeah, I could buy Anakin like having the hots for her at that age, maybe. Also 9-year-old boys.
He did call her an angel.
He did call her an angel. That is true. It's just a little odd, okay? Especially when it's like, this character's my age, and so I'm in that frame of mind. But I also think in Attack of the Clones, George probably should have had somebody else writing the love scenes, the romantic dialogue, because he ain't no good at it. George, you're great at special effects. You're great at being a visionary filmmaker. You are shit at writing romance. Get Carrie Fisher in here to punch it up a little bit. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. She's a great script supervisor.
Yeah. Yes.
So that was really at the time, my only biggest criticism of the movie. Everything else, I mean, holy crap! You cast Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. You want to talk about a a bit of an awakening for a young teenage girl?
Hello there.
Hello there. Yes, because I liked Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Alec Guinness in the original, but then I'm like, oh, he's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So yes,
Anakin, who give me Obi-Wan, please and thank you.
I'm gonna steal him away. I don't care if the Jedi aren't supposed to have relationships.
Never stopped him or Luke in the extended universe.
This is true.
I volunteer to be Padawan, please and thank you.
Yes, like here, train me, Master Obi-Wan. I mean,
Dial it back a little, Chrissy. It's a family-friendly show.
I know. That's about as far as I will go. But yes, so the fact that well, I had just turned 14 because my birthday is 2 days before this movie came out. Like every May for well, not every May, but every time one of these movies came out, it was always right around my birthday. So I was just like, yes, what I'm doing. It was either that or the
Happy
Jazz
early
were in the
birthday to me.
playoffs. Going with the game. So anyway, so really, as far as like a story goes, as far as adding to the Star Wars like lore and mythos and the story, and we realize like where this is all going.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool. It was neat to see. It was like, oh, we get to see Obi-Wan, his master, and it's Liam Neeson playing Qui-Gon Jinn, and then just the layers of just storytelling that are there, and I don't know, it's still a good movie. And then over the years, you have what's called hype backlash, which we've all seen at some point or another. Something is really, really popular, really, really successful, but then a few years afterward, it becomes it suddenly becomes the in vogue thing. Like, well, now you need to hate it. You have to nitpick it. You have to punch holes in it. You have to say it's stupid, and you have to say this because you've already loved on it, and you've already told it, just gone crazy for it. Well, now you need to quote unquote grow up and bash it now. And I think that's kind of what happened with Phantom Menace. Although because the hype was so intense for it in the first place, the pendulum, if you will, had to swing just as much the other way. And that's where you get all of the the people versus George Lucas and people crapping on him and all these other things and that kind of thing. And that just kind of became the thing to do. And yes, it is fair to criticize when something isn't very good. Or, if there's a misstep or a flaw. But I think at the end of the day, and I think the reason that people have kind of come back to the prequels a little bit, well, first, Clone Wars, the show, is a thing, and that actually helped flesh out the lore a little bit more.
It's like Big Finish.
Yeah, it's like Big Finish. And George Lucas was actually involved in that. And so that was one thing. And then just kind of the soulless corporatization that has kind of happened since 2015 that's kind of turned a lot of people off. It's like, oh, well, at least George gave a damn about this, and he knew like what he wanted to do with these stories. He knew these characters, and he treated them like treated this story like it was something to have care and creativity, and not just slap it on a lunchbox and make a couple bucks. Which
and
there was
there
was a lot of lunchboxes and a lot of making a couple bucks, but that was sort of second to the whole thing. So everyone's like, "Oh, you guys all hated the prequels until this
not
this
necessarily."
I'm like, not necessarily. And it was so weird because by the time I was a senior in high school, that was the first time I'd heard anybody say, "Oh, Jar Jar Binks, like, ew, I hate him." And I'm like, well, yeah, he's kind of annoying, but so what? And but that was also first time I really encountered internet culture, and like first heard that people were bashing hated the Phantom Menace. I'm kind of like, well, I'm not gonna say it's a perfect movie, but it was still fun. It was still Star Wars. It was still good, and yeah, there's a lot of talky bits and a lot of this and a lot of that, but I don't know.
I know. Yeah, I know for some people that have tried to jump on the Star Wars train late and have decided to watch them in, I guess, chronological order as far as in universe. So they start with this one, which that's fine. If that's the way you want to do things. The thing is you almost kind of need to have seen at least A New Hope,
right,
to be able to understand the Empire versus the rebellion, the separatists, whatever you want to call them, because episode 1 is very heavy on the political start of what eventually will become the Empire and why the rebellion formed. It's at the end of the day, it's about power and money. as everything's are, and you've got like these, the trade, the Trade Federation and the Viceroy, who are wanting to put a blockade on Naboo because they are upset about being taxed for their trade, their trade services,
and they focus on
it's like
Naboo
a hostile
because
corporate takeover thing.
Yes.
and they focus on Naboo because it's over, very peaceful. They don't really have a standing army. They have like volunteers, but they don't have
they
any
think it'll be an
military.
easy pushover, and meanwhile you've got Palpatine working, on the, as Palpatine, he's like, oh yeah, I'm totally, up for, because he's from Naboo himself. And he's like, absolutely, I want to do everything I can to help our people. But he's also Darth Sidious, which, if you can't figure out that those are the same people, you might want to have your eyes checked.
Right, yeah.
He's been playing the same character since 1977.
Pretty much. But, I do like.
And he's like, you've got Darth Sidious as like kill the, the ambassadors, and then as Emperor, as Palpatine. No, he's not Emperor yet. He's just like Senator or whatever. Senator Palpatine. He's like, the ambassadors never got there. Oh my gosh, how could that have happened? If it was
I
you're like,
that happened, but I'm not saying nothing.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. It's so funny because you watch these movies, you watch the prequels, and it is very much about how Palpatine comes to power, and you can kind of see him, pulling the strings. He's Padme's sort of political mentor, and he's advising her and all these things, and she trusts him. And it shows it a lot in the Clone Wars show where she even turns to him for advice, and she works with him with everything there, and she just trusts him, and then Anakin also trusts him, and he is so manipulative, and I mean that's just one of the things Ian McDiarmid, who plays Palpatine.
Oh, he played him so well.
Oh, he did. He because in Return of the Jedi, he's very much the creepy mustache twirling sort of thing, and because he's earned it by then, but then. You get to where he's sort of this devious, working from the shadows sort of guy, and you see the duplicity, and he just that is his forte, that is his strength. And this whole trilogy, this prequel trilogy, is how did he come to power? I mean, yes, the focus is on Anakin because we know Anakin because we know Luke and Leia, but it's also how did the Empire become what it is, and that is all down to Palpatine just being the Sith Lord and what he does, and it's just kind of interesting, like when because for all the complaints and all the this and that and the other, the story really is built just so well to see, and it's not just it's like, oh, here we're going to move all these pieces in a certain way because the fans expect that, and that's how the story is. It's no, these people, these characters do what they do because of who they are.
And speaking of Palpatine, look how much of a role he plays in the last three.
Yep.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. But it's just
his fingerprints, his wrinkly fingerprints are all over everything.
Everything, yes.
Well, what's funny is right now I was listening to the audiobook of the Thrawn trilogy.
Oh yes, good series.
Good series. Yeah. And also now I'm listening to Spectre of the Past, which kind of is a follow up to that. And it's so funny just because like at this point, and yes, I know it's legend, it's been decanonized, shove it.
Yeah, exactly. Right there with you. It's still canon.
They're trying to keep. They're trying to keep the Thrawn books as they're trying to pull from that as much as possible with what they're doing in Ahsoka. So
basically, Disney decided to cherry pick and kind of some of the legend stuff, which kind of stinks.
Yeah, but it's like because it cuts back and forth. Like there's different points of view. And then when you're with the Empire, the characters from the Empire, they're always like wondering, like, well, did the Emperor leave this, and did Thrawn leave this behind, and what about this thing and that thing, and the Emperor had this something stashed away, and I'm like, and you kind of have to stop and think, okay, would he though? Because that is a lot of stuff to just leave behind if you think you're going to be around. But then I kind of think, no, it's Palpatine. He totally would have left certain things behind, or have these things stashed away just to keep it, because very much the right hand knoweth not what the left hand doeth at all. In fact, the left hand doesn't even know the right hand exists. At some point. But yeah, so it's like he's just in it so deep, and yeah, it's so interesting. And yes, there was clunky writing. Yes, there were some issues. Yes, there are things that you can complain about. But that is true of the original Star Wars trilogy. That is true of any amazing movie. There are always going to be flaws, and that's okay as long as you have a cohesive vision, which George did. A few more. He needed to hear no a few more times on a couple of things, and he needed someone to help with punch up the script a little bit more. Other than that, the story itself, and the fact that someone could come in and do something like Clone Wars and Rebels, and kind of expand on that, shows that it's coherent enough together that they're like, okay, we're gonna put this in here and kind of expand on these characters, with obviously the expanded universe and things like that. In fact, speaking of books, I will say, I probably should start off with this. Somewhere, probably my dad, honestly, bought the novelization that Terry Brooks wrote of Phantom Menace.
Oh yes,
and he brought that home.
Good.
It is amazing. I actually read that before I saw the movie, so I knew what happened. Which, it is what it is. So I guess I must not have seen it on opening night, but like, you're gonna bring a book like that into the house, I'm gonna read it. But I actually told Terry Brooks when I met him at FanX several years ago, I was like, I love your novelization of the Phantom Menace. It's wonderful, and I love it. So, but then I had him sign my Shannara trilogy. Nice. That's fair. But yeah, we also want to talk a little bit about how the soundtrack. There was a bit
spoilers
of a snafu with the release of the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Title
for better or worse. The thing is, because in a weird roundabout way, the soundtrack and what happened with the soundtrack is slightly is somewhat connected to. Okay, go with me here. Pulling from Lou Mangello. And Tim Foster on Lou's podcast. So as this movie was getting ready to be released, obviously we knew Anakin Skywalker eventually grows up to be Darth Vader. That's not a secret if you've seen the OG trilogy, because Obi-Wan tells Luke, your father was Anakin Skywalker, he was killed by Darth Vader, then Darth Vader tells Luke, no, I am your father. You can do the math. So that's something we knew that did not need to be kept hush-hush. However, a lot of the rest of the movie they were trying to keep as hush-hush as possible and under wraps. And as we'll talk about here, the soundtrack getting released before the movie with one of the track titles is a major spoiler. But aside from that, there was a lot of speculation about the movie and how it may go, and that because I mean, this is 1999, so it's early days of the internet. You're talking about like a handful of like dial-up. Really like Usenet message boards, probably.
And in some areas, if you were lucky,
Yahoo,
whatever.
Yeah.
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 Yahoo
On the internet,
groups.
but it like took days for people to download it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because this is early internet.
Yes.
But even with that, there was enough fan speculation going around that the title for this episode, because it was like I had to Weird Al's parody
Oh, yes.
of American Pie,
Saga
The Saga
begins.
Begins, which essentially, according to some people's comments on the internet, is really the best synopsis that is understandable for what actually happens in this movie. Weird Al wrote that entire song before the movie was released.
Yep.
He based it solely on fan speculation to chat on the internet, and then paid like 10 grand or something to charity to see an early screening just to double check how accurate. So when the movie was released, that it is an accurate representation of what happens in this movie, and the fact that he was able to do that
Yep.
before this movie was released says something, and then they go and give a major spoiler because they soundtrack. So it's like,
Yes, it does.
them trying to keep a tight lid on this movie, not as tight as they thought. Is my
Nope.
point.
No, it really wasn't. And this is before, obviously, social media and all those kinds of things where it's like, nobody spoil anything. Or so spoilers, yeah, I guess we kind of knew that it was a thing, but they really didn't keep a lid on that stuff. As evidenced by, I read the novelization before I saw the movie, but even like the soundtrack on it,
which was done by John Williams.
which was done by John Williams, and everybody always agrees, no matter how much they bash the movies, everybody agrees the music is
Yes.
yes.
Oh yeah, Duel of the Fates.
Oh,
Yeah.
big time.
Goosebumps every time.
Yeah. No, I was watching a YouTube video, well, a lot of YouTube videos where there was one that was talking about, sort of thing where we're talking about, like, oh yeah, Phantom Menace 25 years ago, like, your thoughts, what you were doing, all that thing. And I guess like he had gotten, or like a radio station or somebody had gotten to hear. They didn't say what the title of the song was, but they said this is new John Williams music from the new Star Wars movie, and tell me what you think. And like, so they play, and it's Duel of the Fates, and they play it, and this is like, and he's kind of like, okay, this sounds so different from Star Wars, but I still believe this could have come from a Star Wars movie. And then it was just, how intense and epic and all that it is, and that was like got him so excited to see the movie finally. And this was before it had been released, but I don't know if anyone told him what the title was, but I mean, it's not like I mean, Duel of the Fates, I don't know what you could really glean from that title. It's not like, Qui-Gon Jinn dies or something.
Right, yeah.
A title like that, but yeah.
But when you've got a track on there that's called Qui-Gon's Noble End.
Well, right, or Death of Qui-Gon Jinn, something to that effect.
Towards the bottom of the list, so you assume that these are in like the order that they're going to appear. Right. This is the film essentially in chronological events happening. So it's like I
mean, you kind of figure, because Obi-Wan is his Padawan. I mean, you figure that something has to happen to Qui-Gon Jinn. I mean, yeah,
just like what happened to Obi-Wan, and
yeah. Although there was, I think at the time, and I could be wrong on this, but I remember somebody at the time saying like, well, of course he died because Liam Neeson doesn't do sequels, and I was like, but then he came back and did all the Narnia stuff, but that was voice acting, so I don't know.
And
I don't know if I believe
let's
that.
not forget those.
Yes. So I don't know how much I believe that policy that Liam Neeson is supposed to have, but I don't know. It seemed like it would be more impactful if he died in the movie. But yeah, but there's going back to the story, the lore, the what ifs would have happened, and a lot of people have done what ifs, like what if Qui-Gon had lived and trained Anakin, and I'm like, well, I don't think Darth Vader would have happened,
Right.
just because the different way that Qui-Gon probably would have trained him, but that's fan speculation, and that's fun to do. That's that sort of thing. It's like, oh, you look at, and that's a sign of a good story is, you look at like, oh, what if things had gone different? Like, how would it have changed things, and what would have happened instead? So I don't know. It's a good time, but yeah, it's a fun movie. I mean, Darth Maul is a freaking badass.
Oh yes.
I actually got to go to a panel. It was actually at the first, well, it was Salt Lake Comic Con, what they called it back then, but basically FanX, first one, and Ray Park, who's the actor who played Darth Maul, who's like one of the best stunt guys ever, and just martial artist, just everything he does as Darth Maul, that's him, and just having him talk about the makeup and the fight scenes and the choreography, and I think if I remember right, and this is because this has been a fair number of years since I saw it, but he actually had some kids come up and he like showed them a few little rudimentary moves and had them doing together. It was kind of cute, so that was a fun thing. That was before FedEx just got insanely huge. I don't think they could do that now. But that was a cool panel. So if you ever have Ray Park at a convention local to you, go see him. Go hear him talk. He was a treat. He was great.
And chances are he may show off a move or two.
Oh yeah, he will.
So yeah, space permitting.
Yes, hopefully whatever con organizers are putting this together, hopefully they take that into consideration.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah.
Because he wasn't necessarily the person to be cast for Maul. He was just one of the stunt crew, and he worked with the stunt coordinator, and they just filmed like a demo so that they could show George, like, this is what we're thinking, the lightsaber battle against Darth Maul, because Darth Maul has a double-sided blade, so he's gonna fight differently than those with the single. So they just filmed these concepts, instead of just doing like drawings of what they thought some of the the stunt coordination, the choreography would look like, and they were so impressed with Ray that they're like, why don't you just be Darth Maul? It's like, okay. I mean, they had to dub his voice because they consider his real voice too squeaky.
Yeah, his real voice is not the one that Darth Maul only has a couple of lines.
Right.
Yeah. So he's mostly there. I mean, he's the Phantom Menace. Phantom means you don't know who he is. Where did he come from? So he doesn't really, announce himself like, I am Darth Maul, Lord of the Sith. Yeah. He's just like, I'm just gonna come in here, try to kick your ass.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you ask George Lucas, the Phantom Menace is actually Palpatine.
Well.
Because he's working in the shadows.
Well, then he's the Phantom Menace in the whole dang series.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, George, we love you.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the hiring of Ray Park for that is, because Darth Maul, for what little screen time he has in live action, he made a very lasting impression. But of course, Darth Maul as we've seen him in the cartoons, and he's since come back in live action because he gets a pair of legs. He gets a new bottom half.
Yep.
So he's still out there causing trouble. So, but yeah, the casting on this was, interesting because it's a combination of like known people and not so well known. Because like Samuel L. Jackson was like, I want to be in Star Wars, and the casting director is like, hey, sure, come play Mace Windu. And that's how it happened. You know, Ray Park, he was going to be in it, you know, as a member of the stunt cast, and he just happened to get a part where you see, well, you don't see his face because it's covered in makeup, but you know what I mean.
And let's not forget
Liam
the
Neeson
grand hype.
Liam Neeson was not necessarily, unknown. You wouldn't either. Right. They weren't like superstars, but they weren't unknowns either. Obviously, Palpatine, it's been the same guy. So Ian McDiarmid's gonna roll with that for the, till he can't anymore. There were 3,000 actors that auditioned for Anakin.
Wow.
Yes. Oh. Before Jake Lloyd got picked.
Well, let's take a look at the voice acting too, and then we can get back to Jake. The Grand High Gungan, voiced none other than Brian Blessed, for crying out loud.
Just a Brian Blessed role.
Yes.
In the take.
I know.
Like, oh yeah, that's you, Brian.
People will mention like, oh yeah, Brian Blessed was in Star Wars, and other people will be like, wait a minute, where was he then? And then you say, oh, he voiced the leader of the Gungans.
Boss Nass.
Boss Nass.
There you go. So it's
you've got
Jake Lloyd.
Yeah, you've got Jake Lloyd. Where is that? Crap, what's his face? I'm blanking on his name now.
Hayden Christensen?
No, the during the pod race, the announcers. Greg Proops.
Yes.
Right. Okay, yeah.
He's the one who's speaking
Whose Line
English
Is It
with a
Anyway?
common tongue. Greg Proops of Whose Line Is It Anyway, among other things. He's the commentator whose voice you can understand because everyone else is speaking Huttese.
Yeah. If you ever watch Whose Line Is It Anyway and then go watch the scenes with the pod racer announcer, you're like, oh yeah, now I can hear it.
Yeah.
Greg Proops.
People that almost got cast. At one point, Michael Jackson wanted to play Jar Jar Binks.
Ooh.
But wanted to do him in prosthetic makeup, and George wanted to do CGI. So, Joseph Fiennes, obviously related to Ray Fiennes, auditioned for the role of Obi-Wan and almost got it until George's daughter told him no.
Wow.
So yeah, like I said, 3,000 actors auditioned for Anakin. The most recognizable name of what's listed, at least in the Wikipedia article, is Haley Joel Osment.
Wow.
Which he and Jake Lloyd, they kind of look the same. So obviously we know that while Natalie Portman is Padme, Keira Knightley actually plays her double, one of her doubles, but the most notable double. And Keira Knightley at the time was a huge Star Wars fan, so she was really excited and wanted to audition. Her parents weren't too sure about it. But then when they realized how much she and Natalie look alike, that they were like, "Oh, this is great for doing the whole swappy do thing with Padme and her handmaidens." But apparently, Keira Knightley just absolutely hated the costumes because they were just so uncomfortable. Because Padme's got a wild wardrobe. You think the people in the Capitol, Effie Trinket and Hunger Games has got a wild wardrobe? Effie ain't got nothing on Queen Amidala.
I remember I got one of those DK sort of info books, and there was one about
Right.
Star Wars Episode 1. Again, before I saw the movie, and there was this whole section on Naboo, and in that book, the reason they gave for her insane costumes is the people of Naboo want their queen to have to look to. They want to be able to see her in all her regalness or something like that. It's like she has to dress in all of her finery all of the time. And I'm like, okay, we're just gonna chalk this up to culture. But yeah,
Yep.
I would not. Some of those headdresses, I'm like, well, especially at the end battle where like, the decoy is running around with the makeup and like a more subdued headdress, but a headdress nonetheless.
Yes.
Just like I'm like that is a choice. It's
Yeah.
like I guess they wanted something just as iconic as Leia's buns from the
Headaches in more ways than one: the political and then the fashion.
yeah.
And the fact that, like, I can understand when she's like doing official queen stuffs.
Yeah.
But like, even when we get into the second and third films, and like, she's in bed, and even like her night clothes are just like over opulent.
Pearls all down her nightgown. I'm like, that's
You're like, you know how many like indentations are gonna leave on her skin?
I mean,
that?
like by then, like you're already pregnant with twins. Don't add to your discomfort.
Yeah, really.
Right.
Even before that, though.
Yeah, that too. But it's just.
Yeah. And then, we've got some again, we've got Star Wars regulars that they they just they stick around. Anthony Daniels is C-3PO. We have Kenny Baker is R2D2. Frank Oz is the puppeteer for and voice of Yoda, as it has been and always should be.
Yes.
So, funnily enough, there's another famous face in Queen Amidala's little gaggle of handmaidens. One of them, Sofia Coppola.
Yes. Yes, of that Coppola family.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. So, but as Chrissy mentioned, and a big thing that we should talk about is, yes, criticism can and should be allowed when you're criticizing something that is maybe something did wrong, or maybe just like, I wish George Lucas had picked a different like angle for that shot or something, or some looking back at it, just watching it again recently, and it's been a hot minute since I've last seen it. Visually, other than a few green screen shots where the people are obviously standing in front of a green screen, it actually has aged fairly well.
Yes.
As far as the CGI and all that goes. Yeah, the writing a little clunky, could have been a little tighter. That being said, I think that I think we'll talk about Jake first, and then we can talk about Ahmed. Jake, first of all, he was 9. Not everybody can give, Haley Joel Osment in The Sixth Sense performance levels, or Jodie Foster in Taxi Driver, or whatever, type performances at that age, especially for a character like Anakin, who has been living on this desert planet, has only known nothing but essentially being a slave. He's got a few friends, but he's smarter than the average kid his age, and a lot of that has to do with his probably his communication with the Force. But at the end of the day, he's still 9. he's going
Yeah.
to say and do things that a 9-year-old would do. So like when, when Qui-Gon and them leave the shop, and it's just Anakin and what's his face, his slave
Watto.
master, Guado, yeah, Watto. Watto's like, finish up this task and you go home, and Anakin's like, woohoo, yippee!
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yes.
what you expect a 9-year-old to do.
Yeah, exactly.
But there are actually several times where actually I was kind of impressed with Jake's acting.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at it now, it's like, actually, he's not that bad.
Yeah, he actually, like, the scene where he is leaving with Qui-Gon and he, like, starts walking away from his mom, and then he runs back and he's like, I can't do it, Mom. And just there, with him and the actress who plays his mother, I love it. I love all their interaction. And I'm like, yes, he's a 9-year-old kid. That is, like, all those things they would do, he would say, that makes sense. I get it. And yeah, and I'm like, for forever, this has been a thing forever. As long as there have been child actors, there have been people say, oh, child actors are not that good. And, in some cases, that's fair. Fair criticism. I think that you need to realize that these are kids. They're learning. They are learning, and like they're learning to be human beings in a very adult world. And like that adds another layer of difficulty. But they're also starting to be kids, and I think I don't know. And this could be a whole other topic, and I don't really want to go down that road. But I think like the film industry really chews these kids up and spits them out. And and bless the ones who land on their feet, which are kind of sadly few and far between. But it's just like think about when you were 9. Like, did you have it? Could you function in that sort of environment where, like, there's directors and there's hair and makeup and sets and props and all these things going on, and also guess what? You're playing the kid, the younger version of one of the most iconic, I hate that word, but it's the only word I can think of, badass villains in cinema. And you are playing him as a 9-year-old kid, and millions of people are going to look at this performance. Everyone's going to see this movie. That's a lot to put on to put on someone that young. And so I kind of feel like, and going back to, there was this letter written by Ron Howard. If you don't know,
you ruined it. I was gonna let you who wrote it.
Oh, you were. Oh, sorry. Well, I just love that he's the one who wrote it.
Yeah.
Because if you are unaware, Ron Howard started his career as Little Ronnie Howard, who
Yes.
in many things, not one of my favorite movies is The Music Man it was Robert Preston version. I'm blanking on the year it came out, and he's the little brother, the little lisping kid with the red hair. That's him.
Yep.
And there was a
little TV show.
Oh yes, and
that Chauncey has watched 5 bazillion times, so I've seen Little Ronnie Howard in black and white and color as he grows up in Mayberry.
Now he's a very accomplished director. And
he was actually approached to direct this movie at one point, and he's like, "No, George should do it. It's his universe." Funnily enough, years later, Ron Howard would come in to direct Solo, a Star Wars story.
And then, to keep it in the family, his daughter
would go on to
direct some episodes of The Mandalorian.
Yep. Very well.
So he wrote a letter to this Nancy Cooper, who is a film critic, I believe, for Newsweek. And I guess she tore Jake Lloyd a new one. As reading from this thing, is like, well, Ron Howard says that she took pot shots at Jake Lloyd. That she cited unnamed insiders who were critical of his behavior, or maybe lack of professionalism, or his performance on the set. and he was like, he's 9. I think he's great. And this was written before the movie officially came out, but Ron Howard said that he had actually seen the movie. Yes, and movies it says movies are subject to public scrutiny, yes, but for music to attack of child performance based on rumor without even seeing the movie is shameful. As someone who's acting professionally at an early age, I can assure you that 9-year-old Jake is quite capable of reading, understanding, and feeling the full humiliation of a piece like that. You may not be able to comprehend the reason it was printed, however, but then, obviously, neither can I. Maybe some of your editorial staff should try and explain it to him. And I saw this post, and I was just like, go Ron Howard.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was, again, the media critics, all these people are like, oh, we need to write something else. We need a new angle on this Star Wars thing because we've talked about the hype, and now we need to start tearing it down. And that is, you may have heard the phrase, you think you hate journalists enough, but you really don't. Here's another example of why.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
And it's unfortunate for Jake because, like I said, it's looking at it now, 25 years later, it's like, yeah, he's actually not that bad. I mean, I keep saying he was 9. I'm not just saying that because Anakin was 9. Jake was actually 9.
Yes.
So it was a 9-year-old playing a 9-year-old.
Yeah. So
and that normally doesn't happen in movies when they're cast.
I mean, when you're in an industry that like casts 30-year-olds to play teenagers in high school.
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't happen very often. So, yeah, I don't know, and yeah, it's again, when you like I said, when you have something that is a big enough deal as Star Wars, and the media is like, oh, I'm so tired of talking about how big Star Wars is. I need to say something else. They go looking for things to say to tear it down after they've spent all this time building it up, and you see that happening with anything and everything. Anything that has been just praised to the high heavens, eventually it will get turned. The narrative will turn on it, and that's because journalists are assholes. They just are. And I can see that.
And unfortunately, because of this,
journalism and having worked in and around that industry, and I can confidently say that. And clickbait was a thing.
Yeah. And I don't want to say, that this is why he quit acting.
It did.
But he was also diagnosed as bipolar, which in itself is not, I know people that are bipolar, and it is not an easy mental illness to manage, even in the best of circumstances. And apparently he struggled with managing his own. So once he retired from acting in 2001. He graduated high school in 2007. In fact, he graduated from Carmel High School, which is not that far away from where I went to high school. So I know that I've been to Carmel High School a number of times when I did marching band. So
fair play to him. Fair play to him. Once you've been in a Star Wars movie at that young age, and those residuals start coming in, I think you can safely retire.
Yeah.
You get back into acting, great. But I'm like, nah, you're good, kid.
Yeah. And since then, he's been diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. And again, not easy not an easy mental illness to handle, even in the best of conditions, even if you've got, lots of support and the right doctors and meds and stuff. So yeah, he's struggled since then. During his adult during his adult life, he's had some arrests and some other things. His sister died unexpectedly. So He has been, at least as we're recording this, according to his mother, as of March, he's under hospital care for his mental illness. So that's a unfortunate thing to see, and I can't say that the bullying and the stuff that he took from being in Star Wars had anything to do with it. I'm sure it did not help.
Right.
Right.
And ultimately, he was an actor doing a job. He read the scripts that he was given. He followed the direction that he was given, and it's kind of unfortunate, well, very unfortunate, that people are like, they see an actor like, oh, you suck at this. I mean, it's bad enough when it's an adult, although if the adult actor is coming out and doing other not nice things, well then by all means give him hell, Harry. But this is just a kid who was just doing what he was asked to do for part of an acting job, and there you go. And I feel bad hearing what's happened to him since, as I do with all of any and all child actor that you hear about years later, and the things that they've had, some of them have had to deal with, and it's just like I said, that could be a topic on its own. I don't know that we'd ever want to cover that in our podcast, but I know there've been like YouTube videos and blog posts and things, and it just doesn't seem to, and for whatever reason. But I mean, I wish him nothing but the best. I really hope that he can find peace and things. But I never had a problem with him. I think people just need to chill out. And I never felt comfortable with when people would be like, oh, and saying stuff about him, him specifically, and I'm just kind of like, well, it's not his fault. He's not the only one working on this movie, guys. Like, come on. Even if you do, and it, and like I said, it is fair to criticize in a way that's like, hey, maybe try this differently, or maybe this would have been a better way to do it, or something like that, like constructively. But as we know, Hollywood is not a constructive town.
Nope.
As much as we love these movies and these actors, it's pretty cutthroat, honestly.
Yeah.
So, but
and unfortunately, Jake's not the only one who took a lot of hate.
Right.
This one pisses me off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because Ahmed Best, who is the voice and the motion capture for Jar Jar Binks, he was a full-grown adult.
Yes.
When he did Star Wars, he'd had a career. He'd been in Stomp, actually, of all things, and it was the casting director saw him in Stomp, saw how flexible and athletic he was, and thought that he would be perfect for Jar Jar Binks because he's someone that could be all bendy and stuff, especially doing the motion capture along with it. So, but Jar Jar Binks as a character garnered a lot of hate for various reasons. They didn't like the way he talked. They didn't like the way he looked. They didn't like the way he acted. The fact that he's involved in both a poop joke and a fart joke in this movie, which whatever.
Again, who wrote it? Like I said, I mean, yeah, just somebody need to come in and clean up. No pun intended, but there it is. Clean the script a little bit. I think Jar Jar really could have worked. I think he could have worked a lot better. Again,
I think it was an attempt at comic relief, and again, not something that George does very well.
No, I mean, in the original trilogy, the comic relief came a lot from C-3PO and R2-D2, just kind of their bickering and back and forth, and some of the most fun, the sort of the dry, sarcastic wits from Han Solo. And so that was the kind of humor that was in Star Wars. But you did need those moments of levity. And trying to insert, poop jokes and fart jokes, and I mean, you could have had Jar Jar like kind of like, clumsying his way into being the hero, that would have been fine. I think, kind of, he's a bit of a screw up. He's he's exiled because even his own people can't stand him because like when he tells Obi-Wan like that he was exiled because he's clumsy. It's like, well, what happened? Did you like trip over your own feet and knock the queen into the punch bowl or something? Like, I want to know like what happened. And maybe this is something he has to overcome, or because that's an interesting flaw in a character. But then they don't really do much with him, and until at the end they're like, "Oh, you've helped the Naboo and the Gungans be friends," and I'm like, "Oh, okay," because it just didn't seem like they did much with him. And again, nothing to do with the actor. The actor shows up, says his lines, does the performance, gets a paycheck, and then the movie is put together, and what's on screen is what the director decides to do. So I never understood, like, why are you attacking the actor? The actor just, again, attack the actor if the actor is actually out there being a dick about something, but he wasn't. This is Twitter, my friends. So
Yes.
yeah, I'm like, I don't
And
understand.
the fact that he was bullied so much to the point where he thought about taking his own life.
Yes, I know.
It's,
Like I said, that pisses me off.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just ridiculous and should never happen to anyone who's just, especially someone who's just doing their job. So,
and
yeah.
they
Thankfully, he has, especially, compared to, it's not really fair to compare, but, he thankfully, obviously, did not succumb to that urge. He is still with us and has since then returned to Star Wars and is now in The Mandalorian. So
Yes, I saw that.
it's a completely different character. He gets to show his face, and he gets to be one of the Jedi that saves Grogu during Order 66. So,
There you go.
so thankfully, he's had a second chance. So
Also, Jar Jar even got a few episodes to shine in Clone Wars, and at first I was like, "Oh, what are they gonna do?" Like, "Oh, what are they gonna do?" And actually, no. His clumsiness and his kind of fart, fumble, fall down sort of way of doing things is actually kind of endearing in some places, and so again, Clone Wars kind of rehabilitated his character, and is kind of more like, oh, George, that's what you were going for. That just didn't quite get there with the movie. Although I would have enjoyed it if it ended up Jar Jar was really the mastermind Sith Lord behind it all. That would have been hilarious and probably a lot of fun. But I'm sure somebody out there has written a story, maybe not in Star Wars, but like, hey, here's this bumbling idiot who really is the bad guy, and he's really powerful and gonna kill you all. Like, that would have been fun. But then again, I don't know how that would have worked with Palpatine and all that, but yeah, Jar Jar was comic relief, probably a little bit out of place in Star Wars the way it was done, but I think they with a few modifications they could have made it work better. And I it just kind of was like he was just sort of this thing that was there, and I don't know that I watched the movie and I'm just kind of like, okay, I don't know what you're doing, what we're doing with this character. I really don't, because there's not really a reason to it. But again, it goes back to the script needed to be tightened up. George needed to be told no, and but it was the time period it was. CGI was, everybody was playing around with it. Everybody was trying to do things with it, and we really needed that CGI character. Like you said, Michael Jackson would have played the character if he got to do prosthetics, and George wanted Jar Jar to be CGI. And it's sort of like, yeah, okay.
I think we dodged a bullet there, honestly.
I think you're right.
Probably.
You're right.
But, Anyway, but yeah, so that's Phantom Menace. It is a flawed movie, but an enjoyable movie. I mean, the pod race goes on way too long. I will say that. I remember thinking that in the theater, and I'm saying like,
I did fast forward through it some when I
yeah.
was
I
rewatching the
remember
movie.
sitting in the theater and like going, okay, how much longer is this? Is this the whole movie? Is this the rest of it? But
And for those of us who played the Phantom Menace video game, we can say the exact same thing. Because if it took you forever to, and you had to finish first in order to move on.
Although I will say this, because we have Lego Star Wars, the complete saga, not the Skywalker saga that came out with a little while ago. But Alex loves it. But every time he gets to the pod race level, he hands me the controller because I figured out how to do it, and I know where all the little secrets are, and I know how to get them. And you do.
Here,
and I know
Mama.
how to get it. Yeah, and you only do 3 laps as long as you finish first after those 3 laps. If you don't, you get to do another lap and try to finish first. So it's not insanely long, but but you do have to win in order to pass the level. So the one in Lego Star Wars, the complete saga, is fun. It's a lot of fun, and I guess there is also a pod race video game from the early 2000s that is I've heard good things about. I've never played it myself, but I have heard positive reviews of it where it is just pod racing. Which, you know what? If you've got a fun racing game, that's fantastic. I'm always up for a good racing video game. But yeah, so pod racing goes on for a really long time. I mean, the Jedi Council scene is great.
I kind of want to yell at the. I mean, I know it's because they need to put Anakin on the road to becoming Darth Vader, but Yoda's like, sensing much fear. I do, and I'm like, he's 9. You just took him far away from the only life he's ever known. He misses his mom.
And there is
not all fear. Yoda's like, fear leads to hate. Hate, leads to anger. Anger leads to suffer. Like, not all fear equals danger.
And that is something that it can be rightly criticized about the Jedi Order, and I think that is part of this prequel trilogy. Is, hey, yes, the Jedi have all this power, but they're also very complacent, and they are very set in their traditions. And in the expanded universe, in the novels, when Luke is trying to bring the Jedi Order back, he doesn't bring it back exactly the way it was before, because A, he has no context for that, and B, he's like, well, I'm in charge, so I'm just gonna do what works best here. So it's kind of like when you and we even, like, my friends and I who went and saw the movie, we're all 14-year-old kids. We're all like, well, duh, you're bringing balance to the Force. What do you think's gonna happen, you guys? And the Jedi were just so, I don't know, they were just kind of, they were just so stagnant in what they were doing. I mean, there were some good things there, don't get me wrong, but they were just,
it really, this is not just in sci-fi, not just in Star Wars, but sci-fi / fantasy. This is a trope.
Yes.
That really should probably die, is the misinterpretation of a prophecy.
That too. But I'm just kind of like, okay, how can you misinterpret bring balance to the Force when it's like there are 2 Sith and all of these Jedi? Well, they don't even know the Sith they thought they were extinct. So it's all these Jedi. It's like, what did you think was going to happen? I mean, again, I think that's a fault of the writing.
He did bring balance to the Force by getting someone pregnant.
Yes, and killing everybody else. Yeah, including the little kids, but that's the other movie. But yeah, again, it goes back to the writing. I know I keep harping on this, and I hate to be a broken record, but there are things. But I see what he was trying to do. I see what George was trying to do, and what he was trying to communicate. And I think, taken with the expanded universe, and taken with, some of the video games like Knights of the Old Republic kind of goes into this a little bit too. kind of what the whole lore is, and there's ebbs and flows in the universe, in the galaxy, and that's like what the Force is all about. So yeah, war. There's going to be conflict. There's going to be hard things, but there's also going to be people trying to make it right, and and everybody is the hero of their own story. I mean, Anakin is just completely and totally, this is how he thinks it's got to be. And again, this is why he needed Qui-Gon as a trainer and not Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan training him is kind of like being raised by your older brother versus being raised by your parent. And I think that's kind of the best way to say it, and why the tragedy happens the way that it does. So if Qui-Gon hadn't died, I think we would have had a very, very different Anakin, because Qui-Gon was still very much, a Jedi on the light side, but he was kind of a little bit of a
loose cannon.
A little bit of a loose cannon, but not like he's gonna go to the dark side.
Right.
Not like he's gonna turn to evil or anything like that. And Obi-Wan is just absolutely okay. And he's like, doing this, I've got to do this in honor of my old master. So it's less about training Anakin and more about he's got to make his old master proud because of the way that Qui-Gon was killed. And there are layers upon layers of tragedy here, and it's fun to delve into. I know tragedy and fun ought not to go together typically, but I don't know. I think the main strength of the prequels and all of George Lucas's Star Wars as a whole is that it gets you thinking. It gets you talking about these aspects of life, and it gets you thinking about this stuff and how the story could have been better. But then you also think, well, does this mean anything in real life? Well, sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. So your mileage may vary, but I think that we're still talking about this 25 years on. There speaks highly of the films, of the prequels, of the trilogy as a whole. So,
and I know a lot of people this past weekend were, when they re-released it in theaters for the 25th anniversary of the fact that it was Star Wars Day.
Yep.
A lot of people were very, very, very happy and excited to see it again.
Yeah. It's a good time. So I would actually I need to look up and see like what the box office was, because that would be interesting to see. Oh, for sure, just to see how well it did on the re-release. But there we go. Happy Star Wars Day, everybody. Although I kind of feel like this is Star Wars month, because there's just so many anniversary dates in May revolving around Star Wars, and I love it.
And it's funny, like I went on Amazon for something totally different. Like the first thing that popped in my Amazon today was Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Wow. For the 25th, early numbers so far, 14.5 million at the global box office this weekend.
Nice. Can't complain there.
No, especially when it was just, this is a 25-year-old movie, has not had the best rap throughout the years, but it's still going strong. So, go team. Oh, but yeah, 99. That was quite the year.
Yes.
Oh, it's awesome. All right. Is there anything else we want to touch on with this topic before we skedaddle?
I say if it's been a hot minute, rewatch it.
Yep.
With an open mind. If you're like, it's like it might not be as bad as you think.
Don't let the anti-hype.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, well, if you want to chime in with your 2 cents, where were you in 1999, and did you see it in theaters at the time, and what crazy stuff do you remember? Or if you weren't there, maybe what's your favorite Star Wars memory? I don't know. Talk Star Wars to us, friends. Send us some feedback Our email address is fivishfangirls@gmail.com, and we'll read that out on the podcast if you send that to us. We also have a website, which is thefivishfangirls.com, that has links to our social media. We'll have our show notes, links to stuff we've talked about here on the podcast. You can also leave comments there, and you can go to our social media, Facebook, Instagram. We have YouTube, where we post, we'll post videos, audios of our podcast episodes, and comments there are always welcome. And wherever you download podcasts, we're there. So just search it out. And then also, if you would like to support us in a financial way, we do have a Patreon, and we have a merch shop. All those links, again, are on our website. And however it is you choose to support us, we thank you for all the support, the listening, the feedback, the comments. If you're on our Patreon or whatever, thank you. Just thank you for being out there and going on this crazy, wonderful pop culture journey with us. And yeah, Force will be with you always.
Yes. Yep. All right. Well, with that, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany Banger saying goodnight.
This is Chris saying goodnight from...
Go ahead, sorry. Jumped ahead of myself.
That's okay. This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
And this is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
This is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Bye, this tyrannic guy. Later, someday later, it's just a small cry. He left his home
and kissed his mommy
goodbye.
Then
he sang it soon I'm gonna be a Jedi.
I have that song. Well, that part memorized for sure.
I have the whole song memorized.
I'm gonna have to go comment myself.
Thank you, our Fiveish fam, for joining us on this week's geeky journey. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Stay connected with us on our website, thefivishfangirls.com, and follow us on most social media with @FivishFangirls. Plus, check out our nonprofit, Fangirls Give Back, to see how we're making a positive impact in our community. Until next time, stay nerdy and let the squee continue.